This has to be our most convenient sail away ever. The car park was right next to the ship here in Los Angeles. Discovery Princess sails in the summer up in Alaska, and in the rest of the year she's based in LA, and you can sail up and down the California coast or down to Mexico. My name's Scott and welcome to Let's All Cruise. In this video, I'm going to do a thorough review of the beautiful Discovery Princess and our 4-day 80s themed cruise that we sailed on from LA. This cruise had a number of firsts for us. The first time in Princess, which I was really excited about because we're big fans of Celebrity, and so we really wanted to see what Princess was like and how it compares. There's definitely a few things where I think Princess did really well and better than Celebrity, and then some other things where, yeah, I definitely still prefer Celebrity. We got to the port just after 1 o'clock, and embarkation only took about 20 minutes, and then we were actually able to go straight to our room. So we opened the door, and the first thing you see on your right is the open closet area next to the bathroom. A room style that I've actually never experienced before, but is very common on Princess. Initial impressions of the room were great. I mean, this ship was only launched in 2022, and so the rooms are still fresh, but there's a nice, clean, open, airy, and spacious feeling. This is actually a deluxe balcony. It costs slightly more per day, somewhere between $10 and $40 per day, and it's slightly bigger, and the difference in size is only 1.5 feet longer, but that gets you the sofa in the room, which you otherwise don't get. Have you sailed in Princess? What did you choose, a regular balcony room or the deluxe balcony? What did you think? Was it worth it? Let us know in the comments. I was pleasantly surprised to find that Princess still serviced the rooms twice a day, and they give you a printed copy of the event listing for your next day's sailing. As this was our first time sailing out of Los Angeles, I hadn't realized that we were going to be right in the middle of one of the world's largest container ports, and it was really interesting and fun watching these multicolored containers getting loaded onto these gigantic ships. The balcony, though, is not giant. It's only just big enough for these 2 chairs and a table, and that's something I definitely miss compared to Celebrity, which does have much larger balconies. Well, having had that very quick pit stop in the room, it was time to go and find our muster station on deck 7. Once we'd checked in at the muster station, we were good to go, and being on deck 7 turned out to be very convenient because this is the main deck that you can get from the aft end of the ship all the way to the forward end of the ship. And right in the middle is the 3-story atrium with these beautiful marble spiral staircases, which I had to go down. And down on deck 5, we went to the first bar we could find, which was Good Spirits, very aptly named as people were getting into vacation mode here on our first day. And as it was an 80s cruise, you'll see a lot of MTV t-shirts around. Breakfast was many hours ago, and drinking on an empty stomach is never good, so while we were waiting for the drinks to be delivered, I popped next door to the International Cafe, where you can get light bites, things like cakes and sandwiches, and it's actually available 24/7. Princess Cruise fans really love the International Cafe, and I can see why. Well, after a very nice margarita and a quick snack, it was time to check out some of the rest of the ship, and always want to see the pool area first, so we went up to deck 16, the Lido deck, and people were getting ready for sail away, and it was already pretty busy. We always like to enjoy sail away from our balcony. It's just more peaceful for us, and so we ordered some more drinks to the room, and we got to see the Celebrity Solstice leave before our ship left. And that was really fun. We actually sailed on a sister ship of hers, the Equinox, last year, and if you want to see what that ship is like, definitely check out that video. The Solstice has around 2,800 passengers on board, and the Princess ship, while also classed as a mid-size, actually is quite a bit bigger with 3,600 passengers. We had a beautiful sail away. We were sailing at the end of April, and the weather couldn't have been better. It was warm, it was sunny, we sat on the balcony, and we enjoyed cocktails that we ordered on the surprisingly good Ocean Now app. Really great use of tech. Well, with dinner time approaching, it was time to freshen up and also take a look at the bathroom, which is nice. I can't really complain about it. I would much prefer it if it was a bit bigger. I would definitely prefer it if it had glass doors instead of a shower curtain. I would really love it if it had a nightlight, but it doesn't have those things, sadly. Celebrity definitely wins out here with significantly better bathrooms. In 2024, Princess are going to launch a new ship, and it's going to be a new class of ship. So I'm hoping and I'm interested to see if that's going to upgrade the bathroom experience. We chose anytime dining, or dine my way as Princess calls it, and we were assigned to Ketchikan, one of the 3 main dining rooms on board. The 3 dining rooms are actually almost identical, they just slightly vary the decor and so the color schemes and things like that. For our sail away dinner, there was a great choice, great selection. There was mains every day that would vary, but then there was also things like filet mignon or lobster tail, which you could upgrade to and get any time. So there was always a good selection every night, and it changed. These were some of our favorite dishes, and I will show you some more later on. We really enjoyed our first night's dinner on board. Great start to the cruise. And afterwards, we wanted to get outside again. We headed to Promenade Deck, Deck 7 again, where we saw this beautiful view of Santa Catalina Island in the distance. I don't think Princess itineraries ever stop there, but I know some Royal Caribbean ones do. So I hope to visit Catalina one day. I think that'd be fun to see up close. Well, we explored a little bit more of the ship, but we were tired, so headed back to the cabin and had an early night. The next morning we woke up and we found that we'd already docked in San Diego at the cruise port terminal, which is practically right in the heart of downtown, next to the USS Midway, a retired aircraft carrier that's now a museum. I'm a firm believer in the saying that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So before exploring San Diego, headed to the main dining room, a different one this time, for breakfast. I've realized that while I do enjoy breakfast in the buffet, I find myself running around having to pick things up, and it's much more relaxing just to sit down in a dining room and have someone bring breakfast to you. After a short Uber ride, we found ourselves at the San Diego Zoo, just a few miles away from the cruise port. It's renowned as one of the best zoos in the world, and it's somewhere I've been wanting to visit for years, actually. So to finally get there was great, and I'm really into cats in general, and big cats in particular. So after seeing this leopard up close, it was a very good day out. Got back to the ship and people were dancing. And this was actually a common thing, like people were dancing a lot. There was either live music or recorded music playing at the bottom of the piazza. And it was very popular with a lot of the guests. After a hot and sunny day at the zoo, it was definitely time for some refreshment. And so we headed to what turned out to be our favorite bar, Crooners. It's on level 6, so it's in the middle of the atrium. And there's just always a buzz, there's always people around. You feel like you're in the center of their ship because you are, actually. When I'm looking for a refreshing cocktail, margarita is my go-to. And this one was really good, so I highly recommend that. Back in the stateroom from our balcony, we could see the next door ship, Disney Wonder, was preparing to depart. They were actually doing one of the old-fashioned in-person muster drills. This is how it used to be done, and I've done many of these on cruises before COVID, but since COVID, everybody's doing it virtually, either on your phone or also in Princess's case, you can actually do it from your stateroom TV, which is a convenient way to do it, actually, if you don't have or don't want to use a cell phone for it. Well, it was late in the afternoon, and we went back onto the balcony to see the Norwegian Jewel depart. It was actually moored right behind the Disney Wonder. We hadn't noticed it earlier in the day. So it's really fun to see these ships up close, and it was heading down for a Mexican Riviera cruise down to Cabo and Puerto Vallarta. Shortly after the Jewel departed, Disney Wonder followed. I've never sailed on a Disney ship, but I've seen a few of them, and I think they look great. It's got this classic ocean liner look, which I really like. Well, it was late April, so it was starting to feel quite chilly. The clouds had rolled in. So we decided to leave the balcony, head back to the piazza, have a pre-dinner drink, and then head to the main dining room for dinner, which is what we did. And then afterwards we came here to the Gelato bar, which is also down on deck 5. And this is an extra charge, but we had bought the Princess Plus package, which includes things like drinks and Wi-Fi, and also what they call premium desserts. And this gelato is really, really good. You must try it if you sail on a Princess ship. Wanted to check out more of the ship, and this is the Wakeview bar, which is right at the aft end of the ship. And this was actually a really unusual departure because we left San Diego at 10 p.m. So if you did want to dine out in San Diego, you could do that and still come back to the ship. I'm sure some people did that, but there were still plenty of others enjoying the hot tub and everything else that the ship had to offer. Leaving from San Diego actually in darkness was really impressive, because all these tall buildings, the lights in the distance. So it was definitely a memorable sail away. I've done very few sail aways at night, so this was really one to remember. I was also looking forward to our next day, because it was going to be the only sea day in our itinerary. Of course, this is just a 4-day cruise. Unfortunately, it was kind of cloudy, but it was brightened up by the fact that we saw this pod of dolphin early in the morning. Really impressive. I'm so grateful that we saw that. We did spend a fair bit of time on the Promenade Deck on the rest of the cruise. Sadly, didn't see any more wildlife, but can't complain. Really love a Promenade Deck. Unfortunately, this one doesn't go all the way around the ship, but you can walk up the whole length of the port and starboard decks. You just can't, do a loop all the way around. There's actually a smoking area for passengers just behind us, and this area in front for crew, in fact. Despite the weather, you can see that there was actually some brave people trying the Wakeview pool. I didn't. It was chilly. Up on deck 18, we went to check out the sanctuary. Now, this was fully booked. What I didn't realize is that you can't book it beforehand. So on day one, everybody who wants to go here comes and makes a reservation to do so. It actually costs for $20 per person for a half day, a lot more than that if you want a cabana. Alternatively, you can come here, which is on deck 17, and this is the retreat, also for adults, but you don't need to pay to come here. It's just a more relaxed atmosphere, and there is a bar on hand as well. But since it was chilly, I decided much better to have a day at the spa, so I came down to deck 5 to the Lotus Spa and paid $50 for a day pass. I kept calling it the White Lotus, even though that's not the name of it, but I've seen the TV show and I couldn't get the White Lotus out of my head. Fortunately, there were no crazy rich people around, and I had a very relaxing time. There's hydrotherapy, there's steam rooms, there's hot beds, and there's little chilled towels, so make sure you take one of those when you head in. Aside from the water features, one of the things that I love most in the spa are these hot beds. And I know they don't look comfortable, but they actually kind of are, and very relaxing just to lie back and sit there. Well, I was feeling very zen, but I was also starting to feel hungry, and so I want to show you around the marketplace, which is what Princess calls the buffet. And one of the things I really like about it is they have these hand washing stations at each end. So when you come in, there's always somebody with the sanitizer, but there's also the proper wash hand basins as well, which is really, really nice. I wish all cruise ships had that. I know some do. Not all do, but I think they should. Often the buffets on these ships can be really, really busy. And it did get busier than this sometimes, but it was never crazy. You could always find somewhere to sit, and that was quite impressive for a ship of 3,600 people. So much good food, so let's take a closer look. I mentioned that I'm a huge Celebrity Cruises fan, and as this was my first Princess Cruises, I really wanted to compare. I was always comparing the ship and the offering and the food and so on. And I think the buffet actually compares really, really well. I was impressed that the food on this Princess ship and in the buffet in particular was really very, very good. One thing that wasn't quite as good as Celebrity, on the Celebrity buffet, they do actually label the allergens on the food items, which is just much more convenient. And in Princess, they would occasionally label things, like, for example, this was gluten-free bread, but generally things aren't actually specifically labeled. Now, you can always ask the staff, but you really want to find the manager on duty because they have a much better handle on everything and they can kind of walk you around the buffet. It's just not quite as convenient because you have to go and find that person. This was a Philly cheesesteak, by the way, which looked great. I didn't have it, but yeah, that seemed to be very popular. I also noticed that while they would have some of the same kind of standard things every day, they would vary things, and they actually had a theme every day. If you want to see the buffet menu, I'm actually posting it on my website, which is letsallcruise.com. You'll find the themes at the marketplace every day up there, and you'll also find some of the food photos and menus from the main dining room on there as well. So check out letsallcruise.com. gelato.com. Oh, I'm getting hungry again just watching this footage, remembering how good this was, and there was so much of it. There was so much choice. Mac and cheese here, chili I think next to it. It was a really great buffet, and there was always tables, like I said, and actually the wait staff were great. I mean, as soon as you sat down, somebody would come over and see if you wanted to order some drinks. So that was great. It just felt, everything was very convenient, very quick. So really appreciated that. So many staff on board are from countries like the Philippines or India. So there's always really good Filipino or Indian options in the buffet. So yeah, if you don't normally eat that food, definitely check it out because it's some of the best on board. I'm just pausing here and noticing that in the sauces they had HP sauce, which is from the UK. It's interesting because this is a ship that only sails on the west coast of the US and is predominantly American customers. What are your go-to favorite foods on a cruise ship buffet? Let us know in the comments. So it is great that they offer things like gluten-free pasta. The problem is you always have to request it, and so you can be hanging around for maybe 5 or 10 minutes for stuff to come to you. So again, that's why I wish they just label things, because then it'd be a lot easier to know exactly what you can or can't eat if you have a common allergy. One of the great things about cruise ships is they do make a lot of stuff from scratch every day, and they make that point here. So things like bread, pastries, cakes, and so on, it's all made on board. They have all the ingredients, and they do make these delicious foods every day fresh. All the desserts are very tempting for me. I have a very sweet tooth and I love chocolate, so I do have to be a little bit careful on a cruise. But even though I always eat well on a cruise, I've always find that I actually don't gain weight. And I think the reason for that is I'm doing so much more walking on the ship than I normally do in my job in front of a computer every day. Now, I mentioned that waiters will take your drink orders, but you can also get specialty coffees as well at this station. Now, they're not included unless you have the Princess Plus or Princess Premier package. Paying for things on board is so easy. There's no cards on Princess. Instead, you have a medallion that you wear around your neck or put in your pocket or wear as a watch, and they know who you are, and it just speeds things up a lot. But there are hot drinks included for everyone on board, so that includes hot chocolate, coffee, even decaf coffee, different types of teas, including black tea and various herbal teas. There's also juices like lemonade, iced tea, and of course, water as well. And talking of water, you can bring your own container here and fill it up for free at any time. I really like that Princess have supplied that machine. I think it's great to be able to do that. Water bottles, they cost money on cruise ships. It's one of the things you don't get for free if you want water in your cabin, for example. So, being able to fill up from a container, that's pretty cool. Even though this was now the third day in the ship, there was actually still parts of the ship that I hadn't seen yet. So I came back to the Piazza to have a look around and see what else was available on Deck 5. Sabatini's is one of the specialty dining options. Unfortunately, we didn't get to eat here. We booked our cruise exactly 1 month before departure, and by the time we booked, all of the specialty dining options were already fully booked. It was a shame because we looked at this one, we liked the menu, and the price at only $35 a head is not bad for a specialty restaurant these days on a cruise ship. Now, I actually live in Las Vegas, but I'm not a gambler. But Princess really want you to gamble. As well as the casino, there was other ways. Even in your on the display outside of your stateroom, there was a way there that you could enter in and buy tickets or lottery tickets or something. So, and yeah, I guess all I'm saying is there's multiple ways you can spend more money while you're on board. So yeah, I guess that's one way that Princess, keeps the prices of the actual cruise itself pretty competitive. And here's another one of the specialty dining options, the Ocean Terrace Sushi Bar, with their very friendly staff and delicious looking food. This place was always busy, always popular. It is an extra charge, but it's not a fixed price. It's just an a la carte pricing system here. The Discovery Princess also has a good range of shops available, of course, including the art gallery. But there was lots more shops, I think, in this ship than some of the previous ships I've been on, like with Celebrity or Holland America. I wanted to check out this place, and I never came here at night, unfortunately, but Take 5 is a kind of a cool jazz bar. And yeah, next time I go on a princess ship, I'm definitely going to check this out. By the way, if you're interested in checking out what the drinks menus were at the bars, check out my website, letsallcruise.com, because I've posted them there. Now, just before we get to the theatre, next to that is Churchill's Smoking Lounge, and this is the only place that you can smoke inside the ship. There's 2 places outside, but this is the only place inside where you're allowed to do that. And I just saw a few people in there smoking, but apparently there's a cigar menu and you can actually purchase cigars as well. I don't know how you do that. There weren't any staff around. Possibly you can order that through your mobile phone on the app. Now, we were actually on an 80s themed cruise, so I wanted to check out the theatre. Of course, normally they'd have like production shows. Now, we actually had a couple of 80s tribute bands on. So the theatre was always jumping at night with, there was a Pat Benatar experience and there was a Journey tribute band as well. And they were great. Well, we're now up on deck 7. We're leaving the upper level of the theatre to the bigger shopping area. More jewelry available here, handbags, clothing, souvenirs, cosmetics, toiletries, really quite a big selection, but it was only open when we were at sea, not in port. And that's pretty normal for cruise ships to do that. If they do open during a port day, then they have to charge local taxes and things like that. So it just makes things more expensive, and I guess it's more hassle for them as well if they have to do that. Now back in the atrium, still on deck 7. Wanted to check out another of the specialty dining venues, another one of the cheaper ones, which is Gigi's Pizza. It actually used to be inclusive, but it was so popular on our cruise, I can see why they've now introduced a fee. So it's $15 for a meal per person. That includes an appetizer, your pizza or pasta, and a dessert option as well. Well, the 4th day of our cruise came around all too fast, and here we are, last full day in Ensenada in Mexico. And I'm on the other side of the ship. I showed you the smoking area here earlier. This is the non-smoking promenade area, which also has deck chairs and things like that. And there's a really nice spot actually to hang out. You can see the weather was better here on day 4 as well, which is great because we did a very cloudy sea day. Not unusual on the California coast, actually. At certain times of the year, it can be very foggy and cloudy. But we headed down to the dockside where we found, to our surprise, a large group of sea lions. It was interesting to watch the little one try and challenge the much bigger one, but I think he decided, yeah, maybe not today. I'll just sit back down. Always fun to see the ship up close again. You're so much in a hurry to board on the first day that you sometimes forget to take a proper look at the ship. We decided to go on a walk and see, what was in the port, and the answer to that question is nothing at all. Now, there used to be shops sort of dockside, but they all seem to have closed, I guess, maybe since COVID. There was a shuttle bus that would take you into the town, but actually we decided, this is our last day in the ship. Let's enjoy it. And there were still areas in the ship that we hadn't spent a lot of time in. Princess Live Cafe was very popular in the mornings because that was another specialty coffee location as well. Directly opposite that is the medallion shop. This is where you can customize and get accessories for your medallion. The medallion is not just the key to your room, but you can also charge things to your room. And while it comes with a lanyard, some people prefer to wear it, for example, as if it's a watch on your wrist. Princess Live is the home of trivia and quizzes happening multiple times per day. And right at the back of the ship is the Vista Lounge, where during the daytime they'd often have dance classes. And then in the evening, the venue would transform for karaoke or comedians. Up here on deck 18, I came to check out the sports court. I saw people playing pickleball here another time, and there's also the running track which goes around this deck as well. I was starting to reflect on the cruise as we were nearing the end, and we really enjoyed it. In fact, so much so, we have booked our next Princess cruise. Still Celebrity fans, but Princess was great. In particular, very good value for money. The Deluxe Balcony room we booked was $12.50 for this 4-day cruise. Now, we did decide to add on Princess Plus. That does cost an additional $60 per day per person, but we thought it was worth it. You get a lot for that. Unlimited drinks up to $15 each. You get Wi-Fi. You also get your tips included, and you get the Ocean Now delivery to your room. Yes, that is Jack Nicholson in the 1989 Batman movie. This was an 80s themed cruise, very lightly themed, but yeah, that explains that. We were also shown the Breakfast Club another time. Of course, there's also a fitness center as well. This was really big. It was never that busy. There was always plenty of room if you wanted to do that. Now, Princess is not a cruise line that specializes in families or kids, but of course, there are families and there are kids on board. But on our ship, there was actually very few kids, so I think that's why these were empty. But yeah, they have 3 different areas for different ages of kids. Now, down one level, back on deck 16, the Lido deck, there's some more food options, including the Slice, which of course is pizzas by the Slice. And right next to it, there's the Salty Dog Grill, which does things like hot dogs, burgers, and chili fries. And everyone's favorite, Swirl's soft serve ice cream. Now, this was just a short 4-day cruise, so I didn't need to use this, but I wanted to check it out because I'd heard about it, and I'd never seen one before on a cruise ship. But they have a laundromat on each of the decks with cabins. There's a small extra charge to use the washers or the dryers and buy soap, but the ironing board and the iron is free to use. Well, it's already our last night on board, so we decided to head to the Crown Grill bar to get some cocktails. They took a very long time to come, and the bar staff were very confused. I will explain why at the end of the video. There was definitely a party atmosphere on board. People were here to celebrate, and our favorite pianist, Andy, was providing a great show as usual in Crooners. We really enjoyed our dinner on the last night in the main dining room. The food was excellent, the best I think it had been all cruise, and the service was much better as well. We'd had some very slow nights. As we headed back to our cabin, we saw the 80s cover band doing a warm-up for their late night show. And when we opened the room door, we saw this tray with the missing drinks from the Crown Grill. It made us laugh, and it certainly was a fun ending to a great 4-day cruise, our first time on Princess. To see how it compares with Celebrity, another premium cruise line, check out this video where we sailed on the Celebrity Equinox.